Welcome to Nacho Fitness Coach,
where we're all about keeping it real in the world of fitness.
I'm Sarah, your go-to fitness professional, cutting through the BS to bring you the truth.
And I'm Caleigh, your fitness newbie, here to ask the questions you're too afraid to ask.
From crunches to kale, we've got the inside scoop on what works and what doesn't,
because fitness should be fun.
So Caleigh, what do you like to listen to when you work out?
I don't know, sometimes a podcast and sometimes music.
Hey, wait, this is a podcast. What if you could have both?
At the same time?
Oh, yeah. Podbeat is a free mobile app that lets you add any beat style to any podcast for your workout. It's easy to do and free to download in the App Store. Caleigh, you sound pretty cool with the trap beat, but Sarah, the funk beat works for your voice.
So if you want to make our podcast work for a workout, check it out in the App Store.
They even have Podbeat for Android users in the Google Play Store. Okay, on to the show.
So Caleigh.
So Sarah.
Our guest tonight is a client, has been a client of mine. I mean, she's a friend too, but has been a client of mine.
She's a friend and a client. She hired you.
Right, which you're just a friend.
Yeah, because I tried to hire you to be your client, and you said
no.
No, thank you.
But she was approved.
If I recall, you said you're a lost cause. You can't be helped. There's nothing I can do for you.
I feel like you're putting words in my mouth.
That's what I heard.
Okay,
or felt.
Probably that. Maybe.
But I proved you wrong.
You have. Okay.
You just wait. Summer's right around the corner.
That's true. I'm going to see those abs, but you got to dial in your nutrition first. Anyways.
You don't know what I've been doing.
That's true. I do not know.
I haven't seen you in 3 months.
That's true. You can get a lot of work done in 3 months. Okay, well, let's talk to Ginny.
Hi, Ginny. She's here live and in person.
Ginny's in the studio with us today, and we're going to chat with her about her journey. So this is going to be a good time.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's just roll back a little bit. So I had my in-person training days. I lived in Kansas City. We were apart. Ginny knew my grandparents primarily and my mom.
True. So I met Sarah through her grandpa.
Yeah.
He was bragging to her in my office, or bragging about her in my office one day. And so I had to go and get a Shape magazine because I wanted to read about this personal trainer. And I was like, she's from Aurora. Okay. You bet, Merwin. But she was, and completely amazing. And I think that was even a couple of years before you moved to Aurora.
Oh, yeah. It was before I was pregnant with Elle when I was in Shape.
But I had gotten like a hitch fit, a bridal boot camp. And so I was familiar with Sarah way back in the day.
Yeah.
Before babies.
Before babies, long
She's
ago.
Celebrity status.
I guess maybe so.
I was impressed.
So it stuck a little bit because then we did. We moved the family here, and then we finally had a chance to meet in person because, like, I had heard your name and stuff too, just through everything with the church and whatever else. And so I'm like, okay, I hear this name now. I know I have the face with the name.
Well, and fast forward, I should say, I worked at the church, and Sarah's grandpa was a retired minister. And so I spent a lot of time. They would pop in, and we just got to know each other. And I was like, my granddaughter, you guys are about the same age. And da-da-da-da. It's like, well, your granddaughter is way cooler than me. Hold up.
Just a fun little hobby that, kind of took off.
It took off.
It did take off. And it was kind of a good little chapter in life. And then babies.
Yep.
Family.
And a few years later, you moved to Aurora and were involved in Jazzercise, and I was too. And we went through training together. And I guess just one thing led to another. But you've been a mentor and a inspiration of mine for a long time. So.
Well, and you have had an active history, like a background.
Yes, I have.
So decades of Jazzercise.
Decades, yes. I say, and Les Mills. I did body pump.
Yeah.
I've done. Is it Thai Bo? I've done a lot of different group fitness classes and held different licenses with those. When I was teaching at the YMCA in Lincoln, that was kind of the trend, was group fitness. I mean, everybody did a class, everybody held each other accountable, and I wouldn't have known how to go into a gym and work out by myself.
Right, because that was everything you had done.
That was everything I had done. And as I was getting older, I didn't have a full hour or 90 minutes or even 45 minutes to go to these group fitness classes. And I don't know. I felt really lost.
Yeah. Well, because they're scheduled.
Yep.
They're for a set amount of time. And if you miss it, or sometimes in bigger cities, the classes get full.
Yep.
And then you
have
show up to a
sign
class that you had planned. And then if that's all you're doing, you're like, what do I do now?
Yep. So even though I had a lot of experience, I mean, almost 15 years of experience, I wouldn't have known how to like go to a gym and make my own sets or
Right.
make like my own workout.
Because you had been both a participant in group fitness and then you had also been an instructor in group fitness.
Yes. And when I hit like 33 after Ellie, I realized I was not getting the same results. And I was just punishing myself. Like I was constantly trying to hit 2 fitness classes a day and skip this meal and no Doritos for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, things like that. And I still was not getting the results, even though I was punishing myself.
But don't you, I mean, I feel like that's where a lot of people end up going.
They do.
Yeah.
They just think that they go more, that you should just
Yeah,
work
the harder
harder.
you go, especially hitting cardio or those hit workouts. And that's not the way.
Yeah,
Not the way to go.
Oh, if I go 20 more minutes, I know.
Right.
Pan pizza tonight.
And that's what sucks is like you're doing this thing that sucks that you don't want to do.
No.
For very little payoff. There is almost no payoff.
And I think I was even getting like adverse results because I was being so hard on myself. And maybe I was imagining them, but like after you are used to having something work for so long, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, I mean, it was kind of also a panic. I mean, my body could not do any more cardio, even if it wanted to.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I will have people that will still say, well, but we use weights in those group fitness workouts. I'm like, it's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
what, 2.5, 5, 10-pound weights and
under 10 pounds, usually, I would say most commonly.
Yep.
I don't know. I've never done it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Don't start now. I'm not a fan. You're not missing out. No. But a lot of times that does end up being the thing. And so it's just, I don't know, when you stop seeing the results, then.
Then you don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
No,
Also,
it's because
yeah.
it's miserable, and it doesn't have to be miserable. It needs to be a thing that fits into your life. It doesn't need to be your entire life. It needs to be something that can fit in well with the life that you're living.
Yep. And that's just
I'm not-
where I was at.
Yeah, and that's a hard place to be.
It is. It is. And I had spent at the time, I had recently become a jazzercise instructor.
Yeah,
And as soon as I became an instructor, I was like, I hate this. And it wasn't just that. I think a lot of times, anytime you take a hobby and you make it your job or your career, you change your relationship with it, no matter what it is, fitness, it could be anything. But my body was just not responding. And I was having painful responses. I was pulling muscles.
Yeah.
I was super sore and I was exhausted and defeated.
yeah, for sure.
I was just kind of down in the dumps and looking for different things. And I was trying to tailor even the classes that I was teaching or the classes that I was taking to meet those, what I thought were my needs, and just got nothing. And really, I'd never had tailored my diet before, other than what my 1980s, 90s aerobics instructor mom had taught me, which was don't eat.
Right.
Oh, nachos? Okay, well, if you want your jeans to fit, don't eat them.
Yep.
It's that easy, honey.
Or the whole you're gonna have to run so far to work off this,
Oh, honey, that's
this
just
many
not meant for
calories.
you.
Yeah. It was a wild place to be back in the 80s.
How did any of us survive the 80s and 90s? I mean, really, if you look back.
Do you guys remember? I don't know. I have this vague memory of this piece of equipment my mom had that was it had handles, and then it was you put your feet in these stirrup things, and then there was a spring in the middle, and I don't know if you would pull it.
That was a Suzanne Summers thing, wasn't it? I think that was as seen on TV.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it was a sit-up thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, infomercial.
And you pull. I don't know if you pull. I don't know what you're. I'm sure
I feel like I can see that guy. He was really big, with the ponytail. Dunk. Tony Little. That was his name. He had a gazelle and apparently a pogo stick.
Oh my God. Those all those late night infomercials that sold you the home fitness equipment. It really did
Because
nothing.
you were hungry.
Right.
And you're like, I gotta get up at 5 and go to my jazzercise class. So I'm just not gonna go to bed. I'm gonna sit here and cry.
Oh, I am glad that those are not returning from the 80s. The other thing I'm also glad that's not returning from the 80s is the thong leotards, like the full body. Like
I wholeheartedly
exercise.
disagree.
You want that to come
I
back?
want it to come back. Why not? Let's have a little fun. Everything else is coming back. I want it to come back.
You can buy leotards at Old Navy now, so.
With the thong in the back,
thong
though?
butt?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
A whole onesie. Well, they're just different colored, so,
they're
it's
coming
not
back.
an actual thong. It's like decoration.
Oh,
They're coming back.
Should we bust those out then? I mean, is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely.
Ay.
I'm going to run to Old Navy immediately.
You know what, though?
What?
The general population, though, in the 70s and 80s, I feel like we're overall a smaller population, that those outfits maybe weren't so bad, but that's a little scary for me to think that we could have a bunch of people in the 2024
Just wandering around.
in thong onesies.
I mean,
I don't want to
Spandex
see
for
that.
all.
I know you don't.
I mean, I'm
don't-
all for body power and body pride
Are
and
you?
being confident, but I don't want to see that.
But not for everybody, right?
I just don't want to see it. And you know what? Again, that's my right. That's my right.
That is your right.
You can have your
Listen.
right to wear whatever you want. It's my right to not want to look at you.
My point of view is I don't go out in the public a whole lot, so I don't really care what other people are out there wearing. If I want to wear a thong leotard in the comfort of my own basement home gym with my power
You can do
blocks
whatever
and
you want at
treadmill,
home.
then by goddamn, I'm gonna wear it.
Do it.
And you know what else?
What?
Furthermore,
Furthermore. Yeah.
I'll do you one better.
Okay.
I'm gonna wear the scrunchy socks.
Yes, please do. The leg warmers.
Oh yeah,
gonna
leg
raise
warmers.
you.
Is
That's
that?
what they're called, actually. Let's get it right, Kaylee.
Neon scrunchies.
And I'm gonna
too.
crimp my hair
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Anyway,
You don't need to crimp it. You're
That's like a
curly.
left turn.
Which it did take a left turn. You don't need to crimp it because now you realize you've got curls, which actually that does bring up Ginny is a part of the curly girls curly
She's
hair
a
club.
Prominent member.
I am.
I know.
the
She's
curly
legit. She went through the whole curly girl thing.
I did.
Isn't that what it was
the curly
called
girl
too?
Method. Yep.
Yeah,
Same.
Are you? I did
You
too.
blogged about it
Lorraine
too.
Mossie's. I did until Instagram in like 2021, 2022. I got like shut down and all of my people were like erased and gone. And so it's still on Facebook. It's Conditioning Washing for Women. If you would like to join, we have over 700,000 members.
Wow.
So
Dang. I did
Nice.
curly girl method. Are you a fan? You love it?
I do. I love it.
I tried
I've
it.
deviated, so they
Okay,
kicked me
that's
out.
kind of what I did.
Because, well, and part of that is working out so much. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
go 3 months
It's not
without washing my head.
It's not sustainable.
No. Yeah. So
I learned a lot of things. There's a lot of things I loved about it.
yeah, but I've tweaked it.
I
And
can't-
So
I
that's
can't
what we
live
call it,
that, like-
conditioner washing for women.
I
'cause
can't live that
call it curly girl.
strict curly girl lifestyle. But I learned a lot, so that was cool.
She shut me down.
All right,
Wow.
lights are
I didn't
turning
even
off.
realize that was a thing that you have
yeah.
to be like
We knew.
approved or not
Yes.
approved.
Oh, yeah,
or-
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Somebody
Yeah,
had
people will be like, "You're not
complained
doing
that
it
we
right."
weren't following her exact method.
Yeah.
And so I had been shut down. And then, I mean, once we changed the name from Curly Girl, because she's trademarked that. So that's why we're conditioning washing for women.
You
Doesn't
beautiful.
sound as
Beautiful
good,
hair.
but thank you.
No, it's legit.
I love
The
it.
little pineapple bun on top. It's so cute. And I'm just lazy.
I had
with
mine in a braid today, so these are not actually my curls. This is
We had 70-mile-an-hour winds today.
Yeah, it's out.
wet braid.
Yeah.
Nobody's
I know.
winning. Yep.
My last one was a wet braid too because I was just tired and I went to bed.
Yeah.
I just can't like.
Braid a side braid has been my like go-to lazy
I love a good side
situation
braid.
lately.
Mine's paired with a ball cap usually.
I've
like
never
wearing
been able
hats.
to pull off a ball cap.
No.
Anyway, let's talk about fitness again.
Okay, let's go back to Ginny and Ginny's story. So, so group fitness history wasn't working anymore. Life changes, body changes, getting older, never really focused on nutrition.
Well, and then I started, and maybe this was a COVID thing, but did you guys ever like roll through and you see all these like beach body coaches or Peloton or, I mean, just all of these like different.
Peloton, I feel like really took off
It
around
did.
COVID.
Yes, they just like
Makes
flew.
sense.
And so I tried those too, and I had, the same results. So I hate to like single out jazzercise, but I mean, there's just a lot of different things that, I mean, maybe some point in your life you get to, and I don't know if my body was just fatigued out on those methods, but I needed something different. So, and maybe that's why I responded as well too,
Yeah.
is because I had never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
But changing my diet, and I hate to say that because nobody wants to hear that, But that was the single most thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But I also eat a lot better now than I've ever eaten before. And when I say that, I don't mean like healthy, like kale or whatever, but I mean, I enjoy a piece of cake and I don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
Whereas before I would be eating the cake, but I would be in my head be like, oh my God, so you're going to have to do this tomorrow and this tomorrow, and pants aren't going to fit. And is this cake really that good? I don't even think like that anymore.
Yeah.
And that is just a real rewarding way to live life. Because I go with my kids and eat ice cream and I don't even think about it.
Right.
I don't even think about it. And I don't want to either be that mom that's like, oh, my mom takes us out for ice cream and she just sits there. She doesn't have any because she's too fat.
Yeah.
Right.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, and my mom
enjoy.
used to say that to us, even though she wasn't fat. I mean, she was.
I think, and like, you know, in your mom's defense, I think that's just the way it was.
It was.
Yeah, the generation.
So
that,
right.
you know.
Yep. It's just the way it was. And I love that my kids will be able to say that, about me, and that I didn't have to wake up and do 3 hours of aerobics to sacrifice that. But yeah, changing the way that I look at the basics of food is really what gave me the results that I wanted.
Well, and I feel like you had a lot of just realizations along the way. Like, we kind of flipped it all up on its head, and it was not about a like approved food list and not approved not like off limits list.
Yes,
that you really
the
could
naughty list.
Yeah, there was no list. It was literally like, you can have whatever you want.
Yep.
But it has to fit your overall goal for the day. And then I feel like you had a lot of aha moments just around like actually noticing what you were choosing to eat.
Absolutely.
And then you just made small changes.
My husband still jokes. He said to me a couple of nights ago, he was like, I was getting out the Tito's, and he's like, have you had your protein today? Have you hit your 170 grams before you have your Tito's?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, hot stuff, I have. I was like, babe, have you? So he was listening even when I talked. But that was a big thing too, was I used to count calories, and I still do. Yeah. I calories in, calories out. But looking at the foods that I am putting in my body differently, and counting protein before I focus on the calories, it was a big change.
Yeah.
And it was a big change in losing weight. And once I started calculating that ratio of good and bad, I started seeing some big results.
Big changes
that I've been able to maintain. So I lost about 25 pounds. And I've kept it off for almost 4 years now. And it wasn't like I had went through a weight gain. It was just something that had kind of snuck up on
life.
Me. Yeah. You know, nachos and IPA on the couch. You know,
no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Kaleigh feels that hard.
Let me tell you.
Man,
it's life.
I know.
It's your hard.
But so our first couple calls together with Sarah, and I'm like going through my food list because we had to journal. I think the first couple of weeks in my journey with Sarah. And I was like, oh, shoot. Those 8 IPAs really add up.
They do.
There goes 2 days out of my...
And it is when you stop and break it down like that, and it's just blatantly in front of you.
Yep.
And you are thinking about it's front of mind.
Yep. And I still enjoy them.
That's when and you can enjoy it.
Yep. I still enjoy them, but
just
I think
enjoy
about it a little bit.
Better food or healthier foods.
Yep.
More often than you enjoy.
And what I would have
the
done
shitty
before,
food.
I think, exactly. I think I would have starved myself all day.
Yeah.
So I could have saved those calories from my beer and nachos. Whereas once I kind of learned how to balance, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
You only need 2 beers, not 5. And just a handful of nachos. And if you have your protein earlier in the day, you're not starving yourself all day. You're not going to be starving and eat the entire bowl of nachos.
Yeah.
You will be satisfied with your 5 to 7 teen nachos.
There's no worse feeling than being like, here's my potato chip allowance for the day.
But I think it makes it worse.
It's awful.
And then when no one's looking at
yes.
I want all the nachos, all the chips.
Well, and you think okay, this is what my macros or whatever calorie counting or whatever it is that you're doing. Once you get, there's no satiating what you actually want. And it's all, you're setting yourself up to fail.
There's that video that goes around, and it just is like, they have a scale, And it's usually with almonds or something, or like an M&M, and they're like, put one M&M on it.
Oh,
it
it's
still says
the
0.
The Easter eggs, the Cadbury eggs.
Cadbury eggs. And so
It's on one at a time.
They just, whatever it was, there's a bunch of different versions of it that will float around.
Yeah.
And people keep circulating, but it's like they got the scale and they'll like put one thing on there and it still says 0. So then they'll eat it.
Eat it.
And
Put
then they
another
the
one,
next on
0.
there, it's 0.
Eat it.
And they eat it and they just stand there. And I'm like, that's so true though.
Felt
Because
that
you're
in
like,
my
it
soul.
is. Yes, for sure. And you're like, but it does add up. And it's just taking the time to slow down and pay attention to what you're really actually doing. I believe that there's a lot of munching that happens late at nights that people aren't even paying attention, mostly because they haven't probably had enough protein during the day. So they're starving still.
And that was my main issue, I think. I mean, looking back at where I was in that destructive cycle, I was hungry.
Yeah.
I just saw a meme or whatever, a post that said, like, if you eat more protein and you will crave less sugar. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
So I believe that protein helps regulate your blood sugar. Like it makes it more consistent. And so it's one key component that can help you not have like your spikes and your crashes as much. And so typically it's that cycle that makes you like crave sugar, right? Like you eat the sugar and then you crash it and then you'll like crave again. But if you eat protein consistently throughout the day, your blood sugar levels aren't like spiking and going as crazy as much to give you that response. So, I mean, whether that's the angle that they were playing on that or not, but I totally do agree with that because if you just make sure you're choosing protein first and you're getting enough in, which a lot of people do underestimate how much protein you need in a day. It is a lot. Like,
here's my
really,
question. I have a question for you, for real, for both of you.
Okay.
If you will. Right now, protein's a big thing. Everybody's like protein. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You need protein, which you do.
Yeah.
Is this a fad or did we just finally figure it out? Because 10 years ago, we weren't saying protein. 20 years ago, we weren't saying protein.
Protein. I mean, by the time I would have started in like, my journey in 2012, we were already talking about it then.
Okay.
So it's been around for a while.
But we weren't calling it that.
Yeah.
It's like the Atkins diet. I don't know what you're
Yeah.
The
Atkins
Atkins Oprah thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was
just
that was anti-carbs, I feel like more.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's what I'm asking is because I remember there was a time where like we were super don't eat like anti-carbs.
Oh, my mom only ate carbs. Talking about, just things that we learned, habits growing up. My mom lived on Special K, bagels, whole grains. If we were going to have candy, it was going to be Skittles. It wasn't going to be M&Ms because Skittles didn't have fat. I mean,
which that's a lot of marketing from like the 80s, the 70s and 80s because they went through a whole phase.
Fat-free.
Well, yeah,
Fat-free
it's like
makes it healthy.
Demonize one thing.
Yes.
So that you can market, or
yes. And that was a huge push. It was just a huge marketing push. And it was being about anti-fats. Like here, just have the sugar loaded stuff. Well, because what happened was, so it started off as an anti-fat movement. Like eat no fat stuff. Like fats are what's going to get you.
Well, it was fat. And then it was anti-carb. Nobody's ever said don't eat protein, right?
Nobody's ever said don't eat protein. Nobody's ever said that. No.
But I feel like it's just being pushed so much right now that I'm like, are we going to look back in 20 years and be like, maybe we overdid it on the protein?
I don't think so. I think it's really just because maybe now we're realizing how much people are actually under consuming.
We just cracked the code in this time that as we live and breathe.
Here's what has changed a lot is just this specific research. So the history of nutrition research started a lot back with kind of strength training too. It was sports performance and basically bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Was physique building. And so that's where a lot of the nutrition came. Early nutrition with bodybuilding came also considering price steroids were in use. So
wait, what? Oh yeah.
Which your nutrition changes, if you look at like Arnold Schwarzenegger's
but nobody wants to talk about that.
Nobody wants to talk about that. So, I mean, that's where a lot of like the water loading and pushing and all this stuff is because assuming that they were actually all on steroids. So now you're not on diuretics because you don't want to hold the water, but it's really not because of what your food was eating. It's probably because.
Yeah.
Anyways, so just like strength training, I do think over the last 10, 15-ish years, maybe getting close to 20 now at this point, research has changed where it's like, okay, if we're now looking at the general population of being healthier, because the general population overall is not healthier than it was 20 years ago. Right. We're getting fatter. We're getting unhealthier. We're getting like less capable of moving our bodies because
We
of
just
our
need
weight.
to generally not be wearing thong leotards.
Well, that'll
Right.
help.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see
I
that.
know you don't.
So, anyways.
All right, stay away from Memorial Stadium on Husker game
Oh
days. Guys. This G has a black and red wine from Old Navy,
I'm gonna go.
and I wear boots with it.
Girl, I'm not talking about you. I'm just thinking of
Client.
And she's like,
Okay, girl.
I'm an advertisement.
Just like put my name on the back of that.
Sarah.
give me my website.
SS, one on each cheek.
That's right. Whoop, whoop. So, but research has changed because before it was like it was physique related or sports performance related, and now they're like, wait a second, we actually need to understand nutrition for general people, like people just that want to be
Healthy.
and like
How about
stay
that?
capable and not
Right.
weigh 300 pounds or all of the things where it's like, okay,
Right.
it can sneak up on you. We're more sedentary than ever. We're not active laborers. We're not outside. Our lifestyle has changed significantly over the last few decades. So I don't think it's new, but I definitely think it's maybe more talked about because it's kind of counterbalancing our lifestyle changes.
Well, it's interesting to me because it's not anti something.
No. Right. True.
Which it kind of always has been.
It's always been like, don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. Now it's,
and nobody, we're not saying don't. As a matter of fact, we're saying actually
more.
you do need the carbs, you do need the fat, and you need the protein.
you need it all.
And if you do nothing else, if you don't want to mess around with the carbs and the fat, prioritize the protein at the very least.
Yep. What has also changed, even since I started, for sure, over the last 20 years since I was in college, the ability to have decent tasting protein supplements have definitely changed over the last 20 years.
Has it?
Because like when I had some old teammates in college that would start to get really into what they needed to do to change their physique, they were eating a lot of turkey deli meat and like it was still the meats, it was still heavy protein, but they were physically having to eat the food because back then supplements we had creatine. I think that was it. And there was some protein in its basic form, but it didn't taste good.
Yeah.
And there's probably only chocolate and vanilla. And even then they weren't any very good. So that's definitely an area.
All kinds of stuff now.
Yeah, they do.
Fruity Pebbles.
Right?
All kinds of good choices. So I think that's changed it.
Yeah.
That's also just a big money maker though too. So
I'll be curious to see where it goes. I mean, I think we're on the right track. I'm not sitting here saying I disagree with it or I'm skeptical of the importance of protein, but I'm just looking back on the last 15, 20, 30 years. I'm like,
it was probably 10 years ago now. I went to like it was a fitness summit in Kansas City. It was like a whole weekend long and they had, a panel of presenters that came from all different places. And there was a professor, maybe even a student with her from Mizzou, that they came in and they did a presentation on different types of proteins. And they had just done this whole like research around ranking different types of protein and at what level you feel satiated, in which you're not going to be hungry immediately afterwards. And like ranking the different sources of protein with how long they make you feel full. And so there is definitely a difference too between like animal-based proteins, pea proteins, like, all of the different things. And they have this whole list. And I know somewhere on my phone, I've got screenshots of the presentation because it was really interesting to listen to them. I'm like, they are doing research about it.
Yeah.
They are looking at it. And there is a difference in the sources because, if you're going to eat it, you want it to be doing the right things to achieve your goals. But, it's also nice not feeling hungry all the time.
Yeah.
Because you have then the mental side of that keeps you from going off the deep end.
Yes.
That's when you start
Eating like plates of nachos instead of a serving.
And here's the other side of it. And I think the thing that we're starting to see now is that, like with every other marketing, products are starting to market themselves as X amount of protein.
They are.
When it's actually kind of irrelevant.
Do you know what's my biggest pet peeve?
Tell me.
Is when people say peanut butter is a protein source.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
It's not. But they'll be like, before I went to the gym, I had my protein. I had a handful of almonds. And I'm like, oh, girl, those are fats.
Yep, those are fats.
Do they have protein in them? Yes. But they have fat and they're really high in calories. And you're not paying attention.
Much
Here's some
better
groundbreaking
sources.
information. A certain food can have more than
More than one macro?
More than one macro in it.
And just because it has protein in it does not
doesn't mean that it's your protein. It should be your protein source.
So the Milk Dairy Farmers of America, their association for dairy
the milk
farms
campaign.
The milk campaign.
Mustaches, all
They
that.
went
Michael
through
Jordan,
them.
Brittany.
Yes, and they most recently they have went through this huge campaign to drink milk because it's a protein source, and they'll put on there that I think there's like 7 or 9 grams of protein per 8-ounce glass of milk or whatever it was. And I'm like, you're right, there is protein in it, but if you actually look, the carbohydrate count
Because the normal person doesn't know to compare the protein to the calories or the protein
they
to the
just look at the
carbs.
marketing.
And they're like, 7 grams of protein. That's cool.
And you're wondering where you're getting all these cavities. Right. Kids,
Yes.
it's like, all right, well, we're giving you straight sugar in a
it's
bottle.
like lactose.
But that's happening with gluten-free, too. Is that everybody's just slapping gluten-free on their product when... You know what? It was always going to be gluten-free. You didn't make a special gluten-free.
Twizzlers, I think, are gluten-free, aren't they? Because they're all sugar.
Twizzlers were always gluten-free.
Right, my little baby bell now says it's gluten-free.
It does?
No, I made that up. But I think it does say 9 grams of protein. Like, you're not wrong. I mean, they throw that in there.
It is.
do.
It's getting wild out there.
bonus.
So you got to be careful.
Oh, you have to pay attention, but you have to take the time to learn it.
You do.
Now, you can go down the rabbit hole of Google and probably get all sorts of confused.
You'll get anywhere. And honestly, I'm glad we went down this. I don't know where this episode was supposed to go.
We didn't really have a plan.
We're about to end up at MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where we're going. All right, we have a new third co-host.
I know, Ginny. You're hired.
Sorry.
Sarah, tell me about her.
I listen when Sarah talks. I didn't mean that you don't, Caleigh. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even catch that. Nice one, Alan.
And don't.
He's on it.
Listen, he just tries to feed Kayleigh's
It's
ego
fine.
like all of the time.
I've also lost 25 pounds, so...
You guys can have a club. It's so cute.
No thanks to Sarah, though, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I shortcutted it for her. She got there a lot faster.
I love
than we
that
did.
for everybody except for me. That's fine. I'm fine, guys. I'm fine.
Okay.
I did it myself.
Yeah, so, good for you.
Thank you.
Your hair looks awesome.
Nobody needs to throw me a goddamn bone.
No.
I'm fine over here.
I say that I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I have some. Jeez Louise.
Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
real quick, I have no idea how long this episode is.
It feels like it's been really long though.
Can we go? Maybe we can cut it into
need a
two pieces
break.
if we need to, because I don't feel like we have at all touched on the strength training part.
We
of
haven't,
Ginny's
but I definitely
journey.
feel like we need to take a quick break.
Okay. Want more Nacho Fitness Coach? Find and follow us on social media
Find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Nacho Fitness Coach.
and on Facebook and X at Nacho Fit Coach. We're back.
And we're back.
I thought I would try my hand at
You
coming
did a
back.
good job. I'm so proud of you. All right. So I would like to think we got it together a little bit over that break, but we probably did not. So, but you're right. We haven't even talked to Ginny about.
Oh, and I want to talk about that too.
Yeah. I don't know. Do we make this a two-parter then?
Let's do it because I want to talk about that too.
Okay. So then what should we talk about with nutrition still? Like, okay, Ginny, so
Since I brought it up, should I say a little bit about FitnessPal?
So here's what we're kind of maybe thinking, because we've talked a lot about nutrition. We might make this a two-parter
Okay.
and start a whole new go into the next episode and then
cool with that.
save that for
Yeah,
that
we go
whole
into
side of
the
things.
MyFitnessPal and strength training, so I want to talk about all that.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
Because
So
Ginny and I have a lot in common, except she had a personal trainer and I didn't.
I'll fill you in.
but okay, so then if we finish with the nutrition stuff, you made a lot of changes, a lot of self-realization happened. And I would say you're probably one of like 2 clients that I've had. And maybe that's because I'm a terrible coach. I don't know. Or it has something. I feel like for you, a lot of people think that they just hire somebody and it's magically going to get
They're
done
going to
for
do
them.
it for them.
And then it stays.
Well, and I thought I knew it all. I mean, no offense. I knew you were an expert, but I had been doing it also for 17 years. I mean, I had been certified in this and that. And always this size and had bounced back from babies, and people had always asked me for advice. And so where I was at, I was kind of in a low place even with myself, because I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew what to do. And obviously I didn't. So,
well, life just kind of crept up on you. I feel like it didn't happen overnight.
I just had some big things, and yeah, all of a sudden I had a fupa. So save that for next episode.
She said you were going to say that.
I was like, Ginny's totally gonna talk about it because it's like her most exciting thing about the whole process. It went away.
It was. My fupa went away, and it hasn't been bad.
Yay,
girl.
Okay, so we'll definitely talk about that more.
All right.
All right. So if you had one piece of advice that you would say to somebody now that you're on the flip side and you've been able to maintain for 4 years, I mean, what would you say it might be?
My advice?
Yeah.
Consistency, no matter what you are doing, no matter what I'm doing in the day. I start my day with protein. I count all of that, throughout the day until I hit my protein. I don't eat anything else. And if I know that I'm going to be having a vacation or even just an off day where I'm doing something else, I make sure that I have protein either with me or accessible to me, so that way I'm able to enjoy whatever else I'm doing. But I've noticed that I eat a lot less. Like if I'm out at a restaurant or something, before I used to, like I was telling, kind of starve myself all day and save up for that reward at the end of the day. But now I don't do that at all. I still spend my calories with protein and knowing that I'm going to go out and have a great dinner that isn't going to bust me the way that it would have. And with what I knew before, I wouldn't have been able to teach myself that because I didn't know those trends about protein.
Right.
I knew about sugar and calories in, calories out. But I really was not focusing on what my body needed.
Yeah.
And you found a system and kind of a process that works for you to be consistent long term.
And foods that I like, that I just naturally would like turn to anyways, that I would want to eat when I open the fridge, or vegetables or whatnot. I just kind of realized, all right, I need to plan this a little bit better. Or not even plan, but just to be aware. So, yeah, I don't know. I think just counting those protein grams has been life-changing for me.
Yeah.
And the consistency. So, I like it. Obviously I would.
Obviously you would. I also happen to like it.
Yeah. Oh, yay. All right.
Well, I'm a simple girl, and so, that was something I could do.
Yeah.
No matter what I was,
key too.
It was. No matter what I was doing, I was like, all right, that's easy enough. I can keep track of that. And
simple enough. We have talked about the difference between simple and easy.
They're not the same.
It needs to be simple. It doesn't always. And switching up your nutrition, like we've talked about with other guests, that is the hardest part.
Yep. That was the hardest part for me.
But it's not so hard when you can simplify it. What I'm working on.
And eating your veggies.
Well,
we'll get there. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So good. Well, there we go. We are now going to make this a 2-parter.
Yeah, because I do. Yeah.
Because we filled this entire episode with really great information about the food side of things. Yeah. So that's going to be it for this episode. We're going to get Ginny back on next week, and she's going to chat with us then about all of the exercise side of things. So there we go. That's all it. Right. Okay.
Sounds good.
Until next time.
Bye. Next time.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to head over to our Instagram at Nacho Fitness Coach and let us know how you feel about the topic. Do you love it or hate it?
Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening. And if you like our podcast, leave us a rating. See you next time.
You've been listening to Euphony Innovatives Sonified.